instead of just like actively just like hanging out with friends and trying to entertain people, it turns into this like transactional relationship. Like who can I do this with? Who can I get clout off of? That kind of thing. Also, I saw this. Every generation of Twitch streamers has this exact same issue. Here is Stable Ronaldo calls out the fakeness in the streaming industry, saying people genuinely don't like each other anymore, and he can't figure out the reason. There's plenty of money, viewership, content. I don't know why this is a thing. This has happened in every single generation of streamers, okay? Every single one. I came up with the crop of talent. Like before my generation, the generation prior to mine was like Ninja, Tfue, Pokimane, right? They all popped off. And then my generation of streamers were like, myself, XQC. I think it was like Nick Merckx as well, kind of. You could put them in there. Who else? Mizkif. That was another one. Ludwig, right? Cutie Cinderella. Like, this was our gen of content creators. And if you notice, like, there's a lot of drama in that gen. Like, there's a lot of people who have actively fought one another and don't with each other at all any longer. And now this generation after us is like Aiden, Speed, Kai, and then I guess like the second version of that has been like the Phase Boys as well, if you want to loop all of them under the same umbrella. And there are always content creators in this space that just kind of do their own thing. Lyric is a great example of this, right? Moon, Lyric. Like, there are always content creators that like kind of do their own thing, right? But there's also content creators who collaborate with one another. Like, I would say Keizo is like this new generation's version of like Lyric, right? Keizo just does his own thing. He like collabs with people every now and then, but he just like stays out of everything. He stays out of trouble. He stays out of drama. He's great. And basically, I mean, he's been doing his own thing. He's popping off. Whereas like a lot of these other guys, they collaborate with one another, myself included, right? And ultimately, from my personal experience, what I've seen that has taken place is that when money gets involved, when there's too much money to be made, when there's too much clout, okay, I think ultimately people find themselves fighting over one another and like fighting for like the seat at the top, I guess. It becomes like very transactional. Relationships become very transactional because like before 2020, a lot of content creators were just like friends with one another, like legitimately friends with one another, right? In my generation of content creators, like the top dogs, we were all friends with one another. We like legitimately hung out with one another, Trainwrecks, XQC, even Asmongold from time to time. And it wasn't like a thing. It wasn't a big ordeal to just like collaborate with someone, right? And at the time, their opinions weren't the way that they are. So when you say like ew, you're reflecting on that with like today's opinion. You're reflecting on what these guys look like now, or what these guys say now, but it wasn't like that back then. They just weren't like that at all. And I think throughout time, I feel like those collaborations became like more serious, more professional. Like there was an expectation, a tit for tat. It became way more transactional, right? And people got segmented. I think like the big nuclear bomb in terms of like my generation, like no longer collaborating with one another and no longer having a sense of community with one another, I would say was like during COVID, XQC's mistreatment of other content creators kind of started this drama a little bit because he would just like treat every content creator like a NPC. And because he was rewarded tremendously for that, no one really said anything about it. And a lot of people just like kind of let it happen. It wasn't even just GTRP. It was like Among Us, GTRP, No Pixel. Every time there was like a serious collaboration, like that's where it initially started. That's where the fissures initially started. And, there were some people who called him out. I wonder who those people are. And, they got yelled at quite a bit. And I was doing that as a friend, too, like at the time, because we were still close. And then after that, it just like kind of kept spiraling over and over again. Then there was the Kick ordeal. A lot of these guys were getting money from a crypto gambling casino online. And, of course, when financial interests come into play, There's also obviously like people that want to protect their bag. And then Kick gets created as a website after stake.com is banned off of Twitch. And in the process, a lot of the people that went over there they had a lot of animosity. They had a lot of anger towards those who didn't. And then I think like the big nuke obviously was the Miskiff train wreck stuff, right? And it just imploded, and no one ever. People became extra cliquey, and no one ever hung out with one another the same way ever again after that. But that was just my gen, right? A long, convoluted, complicated Twitch history. And now I think this is happening for these guys as well a little bit, you know?
I was the smallest one here. I don't think my take on this is, I actually have a take. Let's start. Oh, should I start starting?
It's very Clout driven. Ludwig talked about how so many creators talked to him after streamer games about not being invited, including Neon. That's so funny to me because like I've been friends with most of the people that were there for literally like the past 6 years, okay, including all the new talent. I'm pretty friendly with them, and I'm not upset. You know what I mean? Like, who the is someone random getting upset after like never having any relationship whatsoever with these people? I'm not even upset because I understand, like, you know, you have to fund these big initiatives, and some of those companies that fund these big initiatives are obviously going to be companies that work with the state of Israel and are not too fond of my commentary on that same state of Israel, or even actively fund Donald Trump's big beautiful bill. So that's so funny that like people get mad. They really hated you for being the face of getting stake banned off Twitch. Yeah.
Myself into this a little bit. I don't actually think streamers have egos. I think streamers just don't like each other. Simple as that. And it's not based off egos. It's just based off they just don't like each other. And people fake friendships. And put question marks all you want. I'm going to be honest. I just don't think people like each other. I don't really know why. I think this shit, there's plenty of money for everyone. There's plenty of viewers.
This is the healthy attitude to have on this, for the record. I do think there's a lot of ego involved as well. But I think there's a lot of clout. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of money. There's financial interest involved as well. And once like money, in my experience, what I have realized is once money is a part of this process, and people get driven by that financial imperative, as opposed to just like, taking whatever money you're making and like being excited at the prospect, being excited at how fortunate we are to even be at this position, instead of just like actively just like hanging out with friends and trying to make people trying to entertain people. It turns into this like transactional relationship. Like who can I do this with? Who can I get clout off of? That kind of thing. I can't imagine having to pretend to like my coworkers to make more money. I am fortunate enough to have never had to do any of that. You act like it's not a job. I mean, it is a job, but it's also not a job, if you know what I mean. It's not like a real job, especially for like a lot of content creators. What kind of, like, look, I log in every day. I clock in. I'm doing news commentary for like, 10 hours, not 10 hours, but like 8 hours, right? A lot of these guys are just hanging out. They're playing golf. They're rizzing girls up. You know what I mean? Like it's a job in the sense of like, it's still supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to be doing that. Okay. People are saying 6 hours. Chatters. Jesus Christ. Like for a lot of these guys, they're just like having fun and filming themselves in the process of having fun and making a lot of money. And it's amazing. And I say this as someone who thinks my position, which is definitely a little bit more serialized and a little bit more serious than what these guys are doing, as an unimaginably immensely fortunate, immensely privileged position to begin with as well. Anyway, no love for Wubby7. Wait, what do you mean? What happened? No, dude, what are you talking about? Wubby's doing incredible shit with Will right now. IRL streaming is way more exhausting than desktop. I disagree with that. As someone who does both, you're actually 100% wrong. He said that's true. No, I will stand on that. I think desktop streams are harder and worse on your mental and have a worse toll than doing IRL streams. I do both. I'm telling you, I've done both for years. Okay. One of the best aspects of Twitch was that there is like a big community here. There was a massive community here where content creators would like genuinely get together and hang out and have fun. and that's gone. And that kind of sucks that it's gone. Okay. But that's why I love the Phase Boys, because they just still keep that energy. Yeah, but you don't do both at the same extent. Like, you ain't IRL streaming 8 hours a day for weeks on end, lol. You just flop for a few days. But in my experience, when I do like 4, 5, 6 hour IRL streams, like, dude, I recognize this when I started going to the protests. Okay. And that literally took less out of me than sitting here and having to listen to chatters yell at me over minutia. I mean, fair, law, also chat. I mean, flip, it's fine. I'm telling you, I love this community. Lol, he hates the chat, lol. No, I love my community. I'm an incredibly fortunate person, but I'm telling you, it takes a mental toll, okay? I'm telling you. Does chat appear in your dreams? Not as much anymore, honestly. I don't know what happened. I don't know at what point. Because, like, remember, I used to talk about how, like, I would debate in my dreams, right? Like, I would come up with, like, talking points sometimes. Like, I would come up with, like, commentary in my mind while I'm sleeping, while I'm dreaming. And then I would wake up and then I would write it down. I'd be like, damn, that's a good talking point. And I'm always on. -10 aura. I'm always on. I mean, it's not aura. Nothing I do is aura. Let's be real. I'm not frustrated by any of this, by the way. I'm just telling you, like, this is in spite of all of the tremendous fortune that I have seen in my life and in my career in particular. I don't know how we moved on to, like, IRL. I think is like more fun to do and less like brain and soul sucking than a desktop. It could just be a me thing, to be honest. The reason why I say IRL is better in general than desktop is also because, like, I think being outside is healthier than having all of your interactions be on the internet. That's it. Because, like, I interact with fans nonstop. In the real world when I go out, right? As I always say, human beings in the mother real world, in the meat space, behave very differently than human beings on the internet.
I don't really know why this is even like a thing. Like, I just don't know why people are scared to say they don't like people. I was a small sweat.
One guy did say, I'm shaking, D owns you or something. Yeah, exactly. Anyway.